You're listening to the Integrative Health Simplified podcast with Kari, Coody, pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. Here we talk all things straightforward and honest when it comes to holistic health and simplifying your best steps forward while eliminating all the gimmicks and confusion. Leave the overwhelm at the door and get ready for impactful action steps that get to the real root of your issue and actually move the needle in your health. Let's dive into the show. Hey there, it's Kari here again, and we are back for another episode of the Integrative Health Simplified podcast. We're continuing this series about conventional versus integrative health, and I'm really loving it. I hope you guys are. I have seriously enjoyed recording these episodes, and some of the interviews that I've done, the conversations that I've had have just been amazing. And so I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. In this specific episode, I want to kind of just look at and discuss what the integrative health space gets wrong. Because again, I hope you can, if you've been listening into the episodes, maybe this is your first episode. If it is, hello, so glad that you're here. But I know many of you have been listening to this series, and I hope you see the theme of let's come out of this extreme type of thinking and look at these two different systems in a way that, hey, there's pros and cons to both. One is not all the time right, as far as one isn't all the time wrong, right? That's just, it's that extreme mentality that sometimes can really get us in trouble. So integrative health space, this is a space that I'm primarily in. So I say these things with a loving respect of sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And I think that we should always be willing to learn and unlearn no matter what space that we're in. So this comes from a person, me. Hi, it's me. I have had to learn and unlearn a lot. Coming from the conventional system, I had to unlearn a lot. Stepping into more of the integrative health space, I've had to learn a lot, but also continue to unlearn stuff that I learned in this space. So I come with full transparency of, I've been there. I continue to be there. I'm with you. I'm right there with you. So let's dive into what this space gets wrong, in my opinion. Again, my opinion, you can have your opinion. Number one thing, and if you listen to the episode on what the conventional system gets right, some of these are, they kind of mirror that, of course, because that's just kind of how it goes. So, and I sort of alluded to some of these things in the episode before this when I talked about that, the conventional health system. But one thing that I think the integrative space gets wrong is there is not, oftentimes, there's not an ongoing relationship. Meaning, you sign up to work with somebody for a specific time frame, and then that relationship really isn't an ongoing one. And that might be simply because it's focused on one area of health and one type of test or something, right? It's just that's just the way that it's set up. It's not necessarily set up for an ongoing type of relationship. And I see this more, I get that it could be good in some areas of health, but a lot of times it doesn't do us very well as far as it does do the client very well, because, parts of our health are sort of compartmentalized, and relationships are built around this one area of health. And then we go to somebody else for this other area of health, and there's not necessarily any cohesion there. And so I also see this as a downfall because really the follow-up sometimes is not there. And doing maybe repeat labs if needed, or following up on a certain issue that was going on, like the relationship just isn't continued there. And sometimes it leaves the client feeling like they don't really know who to ask questions to. And so then they just turn back to Google, and maybe their stress is getting a little higher, or maybe they experience results, in positive results for a couple of months, or maybe even longer than that. But then they're having some of the same symptoms, and it's sort of like they have to reestablish the relationship. And maybe that includes money or just, sometimes it can feel very discombobulated. I hope you understand what I'm meaning with that. And I do feel like, the client is the one who suffers oftentimes. And so that to me is one thing that we could do better. And honestly, as someone that's in this space, I have really tried hard to gear what I'm offering towards an ongoing relationship. And I do, I want to make sure that they know that's where my head is. And so that they feel comfortable in continuing to send me messages or continuing to schedule things with me as is needed for their health, because I do want them to know that that's where my heart is, that I want to continue the relationship. And again, it's a two-way street. They don't have to continue, certainly, but I want them to know that door is always open once they work with me. And from a business standpoint, from other practitioners might not agree with that. No, you need to charge these people. You need to do this, that. That's not where my heart is. I really, not that I get that you have to make money as a business. I get that. However, my heart is just in, hey, this is where I feel called. And, if that's where I feel called, then the Lord's going to take care of me in other ways. I just don't want to have that mentality because I do feel so strongly about an ongoing relationship. So that is one thing that I think we could get better at in the integrative health space. And again, I'm trying to put my, if I'm saying this, I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to be trying my best to model what I'm saying we're doing wrong. So again, I can do what I can do. This is a whole space. So I'm kind of generalizing things here. So that's number one. Number two is the not taking the individual person into consideration when making recommendations. And I say this as far as there are so many accounts now that are sharing health type information in this integrative space. And again, I think each one can have their place. I don't think that this space is overcrowded. I think there's room for everybody. However, whenever, accounts with large followings share a specific supplement or a gadget or, fill in the blank, oftentimes it's not taking into account what that individual person is best needing right now, right? Not that each individual supplement or gadget or whatnot couldn't have a place and couldn't be somewhat beneficial. Maybe it's just, right, there's just this mentality of this is going to fix me if I get this supplement or this gadget. And oftentimes that's just not the case. And sometimes even really different supplements can cause harm if it's not the right one for you. And so I think that that's one thing that we get wrong, is that sometimes we don't necessarily take that into consideration when we're really out there pushing a certain, whether it be a supplement or a gadget or whatnot. And I get, again, I've made all these mistakes. Okay. That's where I'm coming from. So I'm certainly not saying I have it all figured out, but that's really why I want to stay more in the one-on-one space, because I feel like I really want to take the individual person into consideration when I am making it, whether it's be supplement or diet or, gadget recommendations, whatever it might be. If I'm making a recommendation, I want to feel good about this is what this person needs right now. Because you just think about somebody going broke buying all these things and they can't afford to work with somebody one-on-one, which that's really what they needed. And it could have saved them so much money with supplements and all these other things. But yet it's just this kind of mentality that this is going to fix me. And so I see that a lot in the integrative health space. And that's one thing that I feel like as a whole, we could work on a little bit. So that's the next or the second thing that I feel like the integrative health space doesn't do that well. Third would be, a lot of times we are saying we're getting to the root of the issue, but sometimes I don't really think that we are. This is so just dependent on, on a lot of different things, but I think it's kind of a phrase that has been thrown out a lot, right? Getting to the root cause. And that could take on a lot of meanings. But sometimes I see that while yes, certain, ways of approaching health that we have in the integrative health space is better and gets more to the root of the issue than something maybe in the conventional space, is it stopping a little bit short? I see that. I see that happening, and I see frustration when maybe somebody gets better and then they get worse again, or then the symptoms come back again. And really, if that's the case, a lot of times we're really not getting to the issue of what is causing this symptom, or why this person is continuing to experience these things in sort of a cyclical nature, or they just can't seem to get there, right? They're just not necessarily getting better. And I think this is so multifaceted. And that's why again, like, I'm just passionate as like, I'm just always trying to have the mentality of, Lord, help me to see what the real issue is here. And sometimes that means that I need to get out of my own way and look at things from a different way, bring in somebody to help me, those types of things, because I don't ever want to stop short of fixing what is actually going on or helping the body to heal what the actual root of the problem is, so that this person doesn't continue to struggle with whatever's going on. And oftentimes I see so many different things as fixes, like, oh, just don't eat this food, or just take this supplement forever. That's not really a fix, guys. I mean, I get that could help, and I get that there could be a time and place for that, but that's not really fixing the issue if you continually have to take certain things or cut certain things out of your diet. Like, you're not really getting to what is the problem. So I think that we overuse that phrase maybe, and I think it's possibly even become like watered down. So again, my opinion, my experience, this is from my viewpoint, but I just really want us to maybe try harder to let down our guard, get out of the way of, put our pride to the side, let's say, and really look at how we're, helping the clients that the Lord has given us in the best way possible. And that might mean, realizing that, hey, I need to change what I'm doing. I need to go about things in a little bit of a different way. I need to refer this person out to somebody else. I think these are all maybe conversations that, we in this space need to have, real raw conversations that we need to have with ourselves, and like self-reflection, to make sure that we're serving people in the best way possible. Because again, it's, this space is kind of almost turned into just something that's very overwhelming, and that is very confusing, and it's kind of disjointed. And I don't want to see it be that. Right? I don't want to see it be that at all, because I think that it could be a beautiful space of more collaboration, of more treating people as individuals, and really helping to give them individualistic recommendations, and not just pushing different things on social media, because it makes us a lot of money. And that's a hard thing to look in the mirror and say, am I doing this just because I am making money off of this, and because it is helping me to make a living. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with making money. I'm not saying that at all. But I do think that we need to maybe just take a good look at our motives and make sure that we are serving clients in the best way possible. And that it's, for me, I just always am like trying to make sure it's very much in alignment to where like God is calling me. Because there are certainly things that I could do that would make me more money than working with people one-on-one. And I'm not saying that because of whatever. I'm just saying that because it's the truth. Okay. There are certainly other things that I could do that would take me less time and make me more money. And I'm not saying that so you could be like, oh, Kari's amazing. No, I'm saying that because I think we all have to look ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves these questions, because these people are counting on us, right? I just feel a great sense of wanting to do the right thing, because I just feel like God has called me so much to this space, and I love this space, but I think that sometimes we can get really caught up in a lot of the fanfare, a lot of the, oh, I can do this to make money, etc. We really have to go back to like, what's going to be the best for the client and what's going to help them get to the actual root of their issue so that they can feel better and not need some of these things. Okay. That's the bottom line. And so I want to just put this conversation out there because, again, you as a listener, as somebody that is following a lot of these accounts, you are very much interested in this type of information. This industry is not perfect, just like conventional space isn't all bad. Okay. So let's look at things for the way that they are, realize that nothing is perfect and that we all need to figure out what is going to be best for us. Again, just like I said in the previous episode, we really have to pray about these things and just consider like, what's the next best step for us? Not necessarily what is my, this person on Instagram that I like to follow, what are they telling me to do? No. Let's just, again, take a step back and realize they don't always know what's best for you. And that's not because they're trying to be deceitful or anything like that. They just don't know you. They just don't know anything about you. And that's okay, maybe, but you just have to know that, right? You have to know that they're not coming from a place of, I've looked at all of your things and here's what I'm telling you is the best thing. No, that's not where they're coming from. So there's a place and a time for everything, but we have to approach this space in the right viewpoint and putting it in the right place and not putting it on a pedestal. And I think these are all things that we need to consider for ourselves again and have a lot of self-reflection. And so I really love talking about this stuff. I could talk about this stuff for hours, but I'm going to leave this conversation here. Again, this was an interesting one for me because, again, I am in this space and I say all of these things with a lot of humility and a lot of I've done things the wrong way and I'm really trying to do things the right way as far as I see them, as far as what God has been showing me and revealing to me. And I think we all have to do the same thing for ourselves, right? As somebody that's consuming the information, maybe from a client perspective and also people that are in this space. And we have to do things the way that we feel called. And so I'm really thankful we can have these conversations and I'm excited to continue this series. I have a few more episodes for you guys and I would love for you to continue the conversation with me personally. And so you can always email me, Kari@KariCoody.com, and you can always send me a DM. My inbox and my DMs are always open because I just love to have these conversations with you guys. So I will see you on the next episode. If this episode has served you in any way, I would love it if you'd share any aha moments or takeaways over on Instagram and tag me @KariCoody. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so we can continue to learn and grow together.